This is Pride and Joy by Vishal Reddy. Interior, Jade Dragon Chinese Restaurant Day, Super, Queens, New York, 2003. A vibrant Chinese takeout place packed with customers, barely the size of a studio apartment. Framed Chinese characters hang on the walls. Taking orders from a customer at the counter is an impossibly named person who's normally called Bill Chang, 44, Chinese. The stress of the job is evident in his tired eyes, but not in his wide smile. He speaks in Chinese accented English.
$15.83, please.
Customer pays. Bill makes change, hands it over. The line inches forward. Customers at its tail and end sit in a handful of tables present. The phone next to him rings. Bill's wife, Sandy Chang, 41, Chinese, approaches from the noisy kitchen behind her. She's small in stature, but with a fierceness in her veins. She answers the phone in Chinese accented English.
Red Dragon, how can I help you? Okay. Address. Okay. 15 minutes.
She hangs up. Note, all italicized dialogue is in Chinese unless otherwise indicated.
Small beef and broccoli. Delivery.
At the table nearest the door are Bill and Sandy's American-born daughters, Constance, 10 years old, and Nora, 8 years old. Constance focuses on her long division homework. Nora listens to her iPod. She taps her fingers on the table, hums, and bobs her head. Constance doesn't look up, grips her pencil in frustration.
Got me looking so crazy in love. I'm looking so crazy in love.
Some customers smile at her.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
Constance yanks the headphones off Nora's head.
Shut up and do your homework.
I don't know what you're saying.
You don't know anything. Stop singing that garbage.
Beyonce is not garbage. You're garbage.
Who's Beyonce?
Nora turns to the customers around her.
She doesn't know who Beyonce is.
The customers laugh at Constance. Constance glares at Nora, who sticks out her tongue. Bill brings 2 lunch plates, puts them in front of the girls. Nora grabs a piece of chicken from Constance's plate.
Stop taking my food.
I'll do what I want.
Bill smiles, speaks gently.
Constance, don't get mad if Nora takes your food. She's your sister.
But it's my food.
Do you girls want to learn how to cook?
Yeah?
Constance?
No, I have homework.
Bill takes Nora's hand, leads her to the busy fitted kitchen, and points to the one wok that's not in use.
Ready, Nora?
Nora looks over at Constance, who's still studying. Bill turns on the gas, pours cooking oil into the wok.
Let's start with fried rice, okay?
Nora's hypnotized as Bill adds more ingredients with ease. They smile at each other. Begin montage. Bill and Sandy watch as Nora carefully cooks the same dish. Constance studies long division. Super, 2005. Bill and Sandy smile as Nora, now 10 years old, cooks Kung Pao chicken. Constance, now 12 years old, studies algebra textbooks. Super, 2007. Bill and Sandy applaud as Nora, now 12 years old, cooks hand-pulled noodles. Constance, now 14 years old, studies calculus textbooks. Super, 2008. Bill and Sandy stare in wonder as Nora, now 13 years old, cooks Peking duck. Constance, now 15 years old, studies SAT test guides. Ends montage. Interior, Jade Dragon Chinese Restaurant Day. Empty except for Bill and Sandy, who sit at the table, pore over the day's receipts. They watch the female news anchor on TV with concern. Chaos on Wall Street as the Dow Jones has dropped by a record 700 points so far. Wall Street blames Congress's failure to pass the bailout bill. On TV, footage of the shocked Wall Street traders as they watch the stock ticker bleeding red as the market keeps dropping. Interior, Jade Dragon Chinese Restaurant Day, Super, 2009. Bill and Sandy sit alone at a table, pour over a stack of bills marked past due.
Don't worry, we'll figure it out.
I never should have let that man become our partner. He'll ruin us.
Sandy offers him a comforting smile. Bill doesn't respond. Exterior, Jade Dragon Chinese Restaurant Day. Bill, Sandy, Constance, and Nora watch workers remove everything from inside the restaurant. A closed for business sign hangs on the door. The family hold each other tightly as they watch their dreams slip away. Interior, the Chang's house, Bill and Sandy's bedroom night. Bill lies awake, desperation written on his face. Sandy is fast asleep. Bill gets out of bed, stares lovingly at Sandy, leaves. Interior, the Chang's house hallway continuous. Bill walks towards the nearby doorway, opens it. Interior, the Chang's house, Constance and Nora's bedroom continuous. Constance, now 16 years old, sleeps on her side, very tidy with many academic plaques and ribbons displayed everywhere. Bill smiles, looks at Nora, now 14 years old, asleep on the other side, very cluttered. The walls feature posters of Beyonce and Katy Perry. Bill looks at both of them, tears in his eyes. He leaves. Interior, the Chang's house garage. Bill gets into his car and closes the door. He rolls his windows down, starts the engine as black smoke fills the closed space. Exterior, cemetery day. A small crowd of mourners gather in front of Bill's coffin. Sandy, Constance and Nora sit up front and cry as the coffin is lowered into the ground. Exterior, cemetery, Queen's Day. Super, present day. Constance, now 28 years old, lays a flower bouquet on 2 adjacent graves. Her full-length business suit covers everything but tears that run down her face. She kneels down to the graves which read Chao Xiang Bill Chang, 1959 to 2009. I, Sandy Chang, 1962 to 2012. Her tears burst forth once again. Then a buzzing sound. Constance pulls up her phone out of her purse, sees a new text from her co-worker, Matt.
Get over here now.
Constance grimaces, her grief replaced by frustration. She gets up, takes a last look at her parents' graves. Interior New York, subway, car, day. People packed like sardines. Constance hangs onto the subway pole for dear life as creepy men hover around her. Exterior street, financial district, Manhattan, later. A mass of cold grey buildings loom over Constance as she walks down the crowded street. She slides in and out of foot traffic with ease, but there's a hesitancy on her face. Up ahead is a tall glass building bearing the sign Skyport Capital. Constance takes a deep breath, enters the revolving door. Interior Skyport Capital security area continuous. A long line, the employees, mostly young and middle-aged men, preen like peacocks in their fancy suits and Rolexes. The cheapest things on them are their personalities. Constance is at the back of the line, keeps to herself. At the front of the line, a male employee empties his pockets and slides his briefcase down a conveyor belt. It stops under the X-ray machine as the male security guard checks it out. The other security guard, John, 50s, waves male employee through the metal detector. No alarm.
You're good.
Constance receives another text from Matt.
Where are you? Hurry the fuck up.
She's at the front of the line now. Constance places her purse and briefcase on the conveyor belt. Male security guard examines the purse through the X-ray machine, lets it through. John waves her through the metal detector. The alarm beeps.
Step back.
Constance does so, annoyed.
Do you have anything metal on you?
Young Constance? Who was
Well, yeah,
Constance?
I was young Constance, but
Oh, okay, I'll do it. It's not a problem. My earrings. Constance removes them and places them in plastic tray, slides the tray down the conveyor belt. She walks through the metal detector again, no alarm.
you're good.
Constance grabs her purse from the end of the conveyor belt. John bolts up and grabs her purse from her. What are you doing?
You set off the metal detector.
Because of my earrings, which I removed. John yanks her purse away.
Please empty your purse.
Look, I work here. She shows him a Skyport Capital ID badge. It reads Constance Chang, Senior Quantitative Analyst.
You still set off the alarm.
Constance sighs, removes the contents of her purse. John grabs the purse, dumps the rest out, examines everything.
Tissues, hand sanitizer, lipstick, granola, business card. Okay, you can go through.
Annoyed, Constance puts everything back in her purse, heads for the elevators where her mostly male co-workers are gathered. The elevator doors open. She enters. Interior Skyport Capital Quantitative Trading Division day. Surprisingly quiet. Endless rows of unassuming people laser focused on computer monitors displaying stock charts. Constance enters, heads to her desk, gasps when Matt Johnson, 30s, white, spins around in her own chair. Matt is straight out of a Brooks Brothers catalogue, but with the wide intensity of a drunken frat brother.
You got those comps for me?
I'm still working on them. Please get out of my chair. Matt remains seated.
You always take a long lunch break.
I had a family issue to attend to.
I don't care what you do on your own time, but don't fuck with Skyport's money.
The trading algorithms I create have made Skyport a ton of money.
You don't get it. Those comps are for Neil Kramer, the man himself. You're coming with me and the other traders tomorrow to meet him.
I'm a quant. I don't meet with clients. Matt gets out of Constance's chair, looms over her.
You want to be a trader, right? Or do you want to be around those broke nerds forever?
I asked you for a recommendation last year. I deserve it.
And if you impress Kramer tomorrow, I'll give it to you. So get me those comps ASAP.
There might be a problem. Kramer's acquiring his old company, Aegis Ultra, so he can take it public again.
Right.
But I couldn't find much information on it, not enough for me to provide comps. Matt points to a thick folder on Constance's desk.
I brought you all the info. If you become a trader, don't expect me to hold your hand like this.
Constance glares at Matt as he heads for the elevator. She sits at her desk, opens her folder Matt gave her. She examines one sheet that lists Aegis Ultra's current and previous holdings. Dozens of companies are included, all marked as either ongoing business or bankruptcy filed. Constance stops cold when she sees one of its holdings that's marked as bankruptcy filed 2009, Jade Dragon Chinese Restaurant, Queens, New York, her old family's old restaurant. And that's the end of our. That was a good reveal there on page 10. John, what did you think?
It's well written, and I did like the line, the cheapest thing on them are their personalities. I thought that was a wonderful line, but I have absolutely no idea what it's about. I'm sorry, but whether I've missed something or not, I don't know, but I just have no idea what this is about. That's
Okay,
it. That's all I can say.
that's fair enough.
It is beautifully written. Don't get me wrong.
I'm just going to say one thing and leave it up to the rest of you. And that one thing is, all these children changing ages is going to make this quite expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, script writers seem to forget that time
That's all I'm going to
is
say.
money.
Catherine.
You. Yeah, so first of all, again, this is without a script in front of me, so it's a different, well, completely different kettle of fish, really. I'm literally here as a listener to see if I can visualize it. Unfortunately, I'm not able to look at the script at the moment. I can't say anything about how it's written or formatted or anything like that, obviously. I can only go on whether or not it gave me some decent visuals. It did. There were a couple of things that confused me. I don't know how it was written, so I might be wrong in this, but why were Matt's text focalized? Was that dialogue? Because
Yes,
that was
it's
odd.
written as
I mean,
dialogue.
why can we hear his? But they didn't say anything, so I was a bit like, well, why am I hearing his voice? Is he there or something? So that threw me a little bit. Again, just as a listener, it's difficult because I'm only listening to the first 10 pages, so it may be that this works further on in the piece, but I would have perhaps not put the flashbacks at the beginning. I would have started with the Constance as she is now, and then maybe drip fed flashbacks here and there about her and her sister, because her sister isn't anything to do with us so far in the piece. Again, it might transpire that it works better further on, but the one thing that really confused me, again, just as a listener, I couldn't see the script, so I might be wrong and I may have misheard it, but was there a flashback to a young Constance with the earrings in the metal detector bit? Because that was really confusing.
No, that's today.
Because suddenly she was young Constance in the metal detector.
No, the earrings and the metal detector are kind of now.
So why was young Constance mentioned?
Because
Young
Catherine,
Constance
not Catherine, Angela was wondering who was saying Constance's line.
Oh, sorry. I
There's a
thought
young
that.
Constance and a
I'm thinking,
Constant.
why is she suddenly young Constance again? That's really weird. Okay.
Yeah. No.
All right, we'll ignore that bit then. But I'd strongly suggest perhaps looking into rearranging the flashbacks. Maybe not starting with the whole kettle of fish and just drip feeding little bits of little nuggets of information through it, rather than starting with, this is what it's got to be about and this is how we got there. You know, it would be more enticing, I think, as a script if we were drip fed rather than just given everything.
Yeah.
But that's just my personal opinion, again, without having actually the script in front of me. But other than that, it sounded interesting. Again, not sure of the genre. Is this perhaps is it a straight drama, or is it a thriller, or is it a psychological thriller, or perhaps even a little bit of sci-fi worked in there? I don't know. So interested to find out what happens next.
Thank you. Erin.
I had the same question about the text too on my notes, being spoken, and I thought that I really liked the dynamic between the sisters being completely polar opposites. I thought that was interesting, so I'm curious if she's going to show up in present day, and has led like a different life, and like how their parents' death affected them, if that's part of the story, since it led, because it was like this flashbacks in the beginning were like that, and then the last part on page 10 was that the bankruptcy of the Jade Dragon in 2009. So I thought that was interesting. I'm not exactly sure where it's going, but I'm definitely interested. It's well written. I had a question too. I was thinking, like, in the description of the Wall Street people, like all being kind of like men, and her being surrounded by men, I was curious about if the part on the conveyor belt where the guy dumps her purse out is meant to like almost feel more humiliating. So I wondered if she might have more personal items like in her purse.
My
Just
sanitary protection or something like that.
Yeah.
Just because it feels like it's building up to almost like she she's kind of like in this environment where maybe she's treated differently. I don't know. Yeah, but I'm definitely curious as to where it's going.
Oh, thank you. Stewart.
I followed it quite well, I have to say, and I think I just noted down. I thought an amazing amount happens in about 5 pages, and it kind of brought back, reminded me of the film Everything Everywhere All at Once. This kind of really quick stuff going on all at once. So if whether it's in that style or not, I don't know, but it kind of, whoa, this is really socking it between the eyes in terms of the amount of going on in the first 5 pages, right? You know, up to the fact that Bill goes in the garage and gasses himself. I thought, bloody hell, that's quick. So yeah, I was quite impressed with how much had been packed in to the first 5 pages or 6 pages. And that kind of made me interested in, oh, hang on, where's this going? You know, Bill's already dead, so this is going to be about the sisters and their future, and that's kind of where I thought this was heading off to, and that's going to be an interesting dynamic. And whether the other sister, Nora, comes back and sets her own restaurant up, you know, who knows, because she's obviously the cook. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it, I have to say, and I like the pace of it, and yeah, it's kind of, maybe it's about the sisters. I'm reading between the lines here, but maybe it's about the sisters, their different skills, and where that leads in the future. So yeah, I want to know.
Oh, thank you. Emma.
I thought there was lots that was quite interesting and intriguing about this. I love things with food in. I really just like films with food, and I thought, first of all, maybe not to tell us that they're talking in Chinese when it's italicized, but it might be more helpful to say whether it's Mandarin or Cantonese, because then that would be useful for producers and whatnot. Just in terms of the writing of it, the way it's set up, we hear about Constance and Nora being in the kitchen, and suddenly they're called Young, which kind of threw me a little bit. So maybe just to be sort of clear about who is young, and when they're young, because they're called by their names and it says Young. And yeah, I had the same thing. It needs a lot of child actors to show the passing of time. But I did wonder whether there's some way that if they could, and you probably need slightly different size hands. I was just thinking about showing the process of just, you see their faces and you sort of see, the maybe it's Chinese New Year and you see those calendars and things and the decorations, and each year they have a different thing that she's making. And then when you sort of come round, it can be the grown-up version or the older version of her. So you only need Tiny and her at the end of that montage, perhaps. What else did I think? I was curious about who that man was, who the parents say, about letting that man get involved. So that was interesting. I was curious about the cemetery, because it's called cemetery, then it's called Queen Cemetery. I'm guessing it's the same thing, but it does slightly suggest that somehow they were moved. And I was very interested that both of them, because Sandy was 3 years younger than Bill, and she dies 3 years after him, and both of them only get to live to be 50 years old, which isn't very much for them. Is she being treated differently at the X-ray thing because she's a woman, or because she's an Asian American? I couldn't quite work out what that was. What that was. Clearly there was something going on, but I wasn't quite sure why. I learned a new thing. I learned that comps in this instance would probably be comparable company analysis, because I was thinking, what are they going to see? I thought they were going to see a play or something, or maybe some sporty thing. And but I looked it up, and that's like getting a kind of background and projection and stuff. What else? That's something else. I liked it, Angela, when you read out that Bill had tired eyes, because it sounded ever so much for a moment like you said he had tie-dyes. I was a bit kind of, it's funny that we've had two plays the same evening where a woman has been sort of small but mighty. That's been quite fun. And I wonder whether maybe I've just got a bit of a crime head on me at the moment, but I'm looking at the picture on the front of this, and I think either Constance has to sort of take up crime in order to, do whatever it is she's sent on her mission to do, or maybe her sister Nora, is having a contrasting life as she's a grown-up, and so she's in prison or is arrested or something like that. So I'm curious to see what will happen next too.
I was wondering if perhaps there's a connection between that man and where she works in the finance thing, that maybe they shut down. They have a thing about shutting down businesses or something to gain monetary gain or something. I don't know.
Well, it was big during the 80s when the bubble burst, that they were buying companies low
And breaking them up.
And then,
Running them off.
What do they call it? Bloody hell.
Wankers, I think.
Is it mergers and acquisitions? M&A?
No. Disaster capitalism.
Okay.
Yeah, they buy up companies that are sinking and they buy them low, but as individual portions, they can sell them off for a lot of money.
Okay.
So I'm just working this out. In 2009, when their father dies, Constance is 15 and Nora is 13. And when their mother dies in 2012, that's 3 years later. So Constance is 18 and Nora is 16. So technically, they're old enough to be on their own. But my question is the business has gone bust. How are they living? How have they managed? How have they managed to survive long enough on their own? At 18, she's not going to be earning big money in the financial world, although that's where she ends up. She's going to end up going to university because she says she's a quantitative surveyor or whatever she is. So she's going to be doing education, higher education. So that's not going to be earning money to keep them both. Or how are we saying that the younger one's gone to work and kept the money to put the other one in through university? It's quite it's kind of complicated, and maybe we'll find out about that later.
Well, there'd be no payout on any life assurances because he killed himself.
Yeah, so it's just the technicalities of all of that. I think I'm hoping that those are answered later on. But the thing that came to my mind, it more than anything really, that I'm not getting from this, it is incredibly well written. I love the characters. I think and I love what happens on page 10, the fact that it's a big slap in the face. It's her father's restaurant, it's their old restaurant. But what I agree with you, Catherine. I'm wondering, was it you that's saying something about those flashbacks are not in the right place?
Yeah,
It feels like it should be starting the other way round,
yeah.
with those big scenes at the office up front, and then have us unravel it. And the reason I say that is because then that slap in the face comes on about page 2 or 3, and you get the, oh my God, what's this about? And that really forces you to watch to find out. But also what I'm not getting, and particularly as Nora drops out of the picture, and presumably she comes back later, is how does first of all, there's 2 losses here, the loss of the restaurant and the loss of the parents. How do those 2 losses impact on the girls emotionally? Because losing the restaurant is one thing, and it may not have impacted on them massively if their parents worked to maintain some level of, stability for them and everything. Emotionally, they may not have noticed it, although financially they would have noticed it. But their father dies in a horrible way. Suicide is not a good way to die, and that's going to impact on you massively at a time in your life when you're very vulnerable as a teenager. And you're going through a lot of stuff yourself, and the mother is going to be going through a lot of stuff, and we don't hear how come she died 3 years later. Did she take her own life? You got to imagine what those girls are carrying. I want to feel some of that in those first 10 pages, because that's the heart of it that's going to carry me on to want to know, are these girls going to be okay? So I think you have to think in terms of it not just being a series of things that happen, but it has to be what's the internal thing?
Yeah.
What's the effect? Those things are just like surface stuff, That's what that would be what would keep me really watching, is to find out whether these girls are going to be okay. Are they going to survive? How's life going to pan out for them? Which I'm assuming is what it's actually about. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, it's just some thoughts. Thank you for that. That's brilliant. I think if I can find my cursor. Thank you so much.